Today, Rick and I are going to talk about our time testing the brand new Fuji GFX100RF.
That's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. With a little help from our amazing model, Pepper May Henry. Well, hey everyone, it's Hudson, and I got Rick here in the Printerville studio with me, and we just wrapped up our Mount Rainier National Park workshop.
Yep.
We had a wonderful time. We're kind of exhausted. It is literally the day after. But one of the cool things on this workshop was that our great friend, Ken Mueller, loaned us his Fuji GFX100RF to just kind of play around with. The medium format, compact fixed lens. It's a 35 millimeter lens that gives you the equivalent on that bigger sensor of about 28 millimeters, so similar to the slightly smaller but more solid feeling, I would say.
Yes, definitely.
Like a Q series lens. And we were able to play around with it, take some pictures of people, take some pictures of landscapes, and really get a good feel for this camera.
Yep.
What was your overall sense of it, Rick?
It's surprisingly easy to hold, carry around. It's compact.
Oh, for a medium format camera.
Yeah, it's really great.
Right.
I mean, it fits in your hand well. It's got some good features, but really for me, I like to shoot at night. I like to shoot street.
You like handheld?
I like handheld stuff.
Right.
I mean, the fact that it's
got some
lens,
limitations.
f4.
Yeah.
No IBIS.
Yeah.
Which means that you're going really high ISO.
Really high ISO.
While you're out there shooting at night.
Well, and another thing to consider is with a camera with this amount of resolution, you need to be even more careful that you're got a nice, you're not blurring through motion. The higher the megapixels, the more solid your grip or your hold or your tripod support needs to be without that image stabilization.
Yeah.
And the Leica Q3, which albeit is more expensive and less megapixels a little bit, 60's not bad though, has image stabilization and an f1.7 lens, and that's 2.5 stops faster.
That's a big difference.
It's a massive. This is a dream low light handheld street shooting at night machine.
Yeah. I will say. When you're in the right conditions, this camera takes beautiful pictures.
Right.
It really does.
And it's great on the tripod. I was shooting waterfalls in Mount Rainier with it. Fabulous on the tripod, but if you're going to be carrying a medium format camera for the tripod and you're spending this amount of money, I mean, I would argue maybe you want to go for an interchangeable lens camera. It sort of defeats the small, light, carry everywhere camera. I like having a little faster lens. It's small. Now that's part of the whole deal. So as I go through, I have a list of pros about this camera after shooting it for a while. And one is the resolution. I mean, you zoom into 100%, and if you've got a nice sharp image, there's oodles of resolution. It's similar to shooting 3 or 4 frames with this one in a panorama. Right.
And this one, as does the Leica, you can set it so you can zoom in to
smaller
90. Right.
Right.
And the nice thing about that is you can set it so that it takes up the whole screen when you go in.
Right. As you crop in to say a 35 or 50 millimeter equivalent view, it fills the frame, fills the viewfinder. You're able to see the image and check whether it looks right to you or not, and whether the subject's doing what you want it to do easier than the Leica, which unfortunately throws up sort of that traditional styled frame line like the M cameras would. You still see the whole image, and you just see a little white square of what you would be shooting.
Right. And a couple times I was out shooting in Rainier, and I was zoomed in, but because I'm shooting in RAW, when it comes into Lightroom, I see the crop.
Right.
But if I go into the crop tool, I've got all 100 megapixels that I can work with.
Which is identical to the Leica, right? And although you see the whole thing too, it will come in with that crop that you shot.
And the other thing that just really got me about this is, they've got all of this wheel for changing the aspect ratios. And it really feels like a gimmick to me. It feels like a gimmick. Again,
Well, now there may be somebody who loves to flip from 16:9
Yes.
to 4:3 to square, and I mean, but having a wheel for it seems excessive.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, some of the stuff on the camera is fine. I think Fuji shooters
yeah,
will get this camera right away and be able to work with it.
Right.
Those of us who go back and forth between
It's more challenging.
The Leica, Sony, Nikon, it is more challenging. Every time I picked this up after shooting with the Sony, I had to sort of sit down and go, where am I? What am I? So.
Well, for those who are familiar with the videos that I've done about the Leica Q series, I originally got the Q2, now I have the Q3. One of the things that was astounding about it was the day that I received my Q camera. I went to bed that evening, my wife passed out early, and I was running through the menus quickly in bed, literally looking through the viewfinder, running through the menus, and understood this camera in like a half an hour. It was just, I had it pretty cold. I'm like, oh, this is a very simple, easy to understand, intuitive interface, and I was shooting beautiful photos with it and not struggling in the least. And I feel, Rick and I had an adventure with I owned a Fuji X100S, and I really loved that camera. I loved that camera. And then we got the Fuji X100RF. There's a video about that. You can click right here if you want to run over and see our review of that. And it seemed like the Fuji menu system had evolved to do a whole bunch more things, and yet it got kind of convoluted in the process. It reminded me personally of sort of how Sony's original user interface was when they brought out the original A7s, and which was complicated. You learned it, and we got to where we had a really good time with that camera, but weren't sad to see it passed on. And this one feels very similar. I mean, if you're a Fuji user and you understand the Fuji system, it's just styled differently. It's very different from Canon and Sony and Nikon. Sony's improved so much over the years by simplifying their system. It's real easy. This camera, it's tough to bounce back and forth from one system to it.
But I spent a couple days where this was the only camera I used.
Me too.
And it focuses quickly.
It's great focusing.
And when you can get in a situation where you can get your shutter speed up, the higher ISOs are actually pretty decent.
Right.
I mean, 6400 in this camera seems workable, usable.
The first thing I do, almost always when I get a Rick handed me this camera before we left for Rainier, and of course, I went up into the bedroom, kids are showering, and my cat Grayson is on the bed, and I started, Gray is always a willing subject. He's looking at me sort of skeptically, and he's moving a little bit. I immediately felt in that darkened room in the evening the limitations of the f4 lens, so I bumped the ISO up to 5,000. And I dropped down to a 20th of a second, which is a tough handheld with a 35mm 100 megapixel sensor. And I did all right, though. I was very careful, and he's moving a little bit. There were a couple that were a little blurry, but I got some sharp shots, and I was impressed. I was a little skeptical. Medium format cameras, a lot of time, the ones I've worked with in the past, they haven't got the sauce right for high ISO. But 5,000 ISO was really good with this camera.
I would agree.
And I didn't really feel the need. You can see in these images, it looked pretty good. If you were to run it through Lightroom's denoise, Adobe's denoise, or on one's no noise AI, or any of the Topaz, it would be it's fine at high ISO. So I was impressed with its high ISO. I'm impressed with how light it is. But the same token of that, it's got a plastic hood. It feels like if I drop this camera, it's toast. I worry about that. I mean, I don't know. I can't say that for sure because I didn't drop Ken's camera to test it, but I feel
we promise, Ken.
Feel like treating this one much more gingerly than this little chunk of steel, which I have. This has had some bumps and spills, and it's just been fine. I felt like the focus was very fast, like you said. I like the dials. I think the manual controls on it are good, and there's a lot of them. You can control ISO, you can control shutter speed, you can control exposure compensation, you can program the wheels to do what they want. Like you said, you've even got a wheel for aspect ratio. Just the menus. When you go in and you want to do things in the menus, it's like, ooh, and sometimes there's a sub-menu to the sub-menu to the menu, and you're like, well, which one's where? And there's so much nested under different places than I'd look.
One of the great things, though, is they've got the Fuji special sauce for the camera camera profiles?
JPEGs. And they're beautiful. The images coming out of this are, I love Fuji's JPEGs, and I will commend them highly. You know, you look at these photos of my daughter Pepper, who came in for a little cameo at the beginning, and the way that they come in from the Fuji just looks gorgeous. You know, the exposure's great, the way that it just renders the color, and they have it's the film emulations. Fuji was great with film, and they've translated that to the camera. Now, the odd thing, I'm going to make this a double-edged sword though for the GFX100RF, is that it seems like it's really geared towards JPEG shooting.
Which is odd.
Which is odd for a 100 megapixel, nearly $5,000 camera. I noticed that the Q menu out of the box has 16 programmable options that if you hit the Q menu you have quick access to. 14 of the 16 out of the box
are
JPEG settings. You know, the wheel on the lens, the custom wheel on the lens flips through the different film emulations, which I thought was fun. It's really quick to go from black and white to color to Provia to Velvia to Astia, which is wonderful.
And those profiles are embedded.
That's the great thing. And you know, that's true from Nikon and Sony and Fuji, that when you shoot in those picture control profiles in Nikon or the film emulations on the Fuji, what do they call it on
picture profiles.
Picture profiles on Sony, those come through in the raw files if you set Lightroom Classics presets, preferences. To read the camera profile. That's one thing that the Leica stinks. Leica, you're not listening to this video, I'm sure, but if you did, it would be wonderful if you put the Leica looks and into the raw profile. Because, you know, sometimes I like the way that the Leica renders its images, and sometimes I shoot JPEG plus RAW, and the JPEG's so good I might use it, but sometimes I just tweak the RAW to look like the JPEG out of the Leica, but it takes work. So you know, it's odd that so many of the settings out of the box are geared towards JPEG, but also it's wonderful that the raw files come in looking like those JPEGs. So you know, my biggest complaint with the camera as a whole is the f4. No IBIS.
I mean, so this is one of the things that struck me repeatedly in working with this camera, watching you with your Q, and our full bodies, right?
The big Nikons, the ZF or the Z9 or the A7R.
We can go and shoot at 1/6 of a second.
Handheld.
You can't even get close to that.
No.
I mean, maybe if you really brace yourself, but I mean, I went around walking the streets of the Pearl one night here in Portland, and you know, even trying to get down to a 1/4 of a second, 1/2 a second, it's like it's really hard to get.
Hard.
It would so benefit. I mean, I would feel better about f4 on this lens if I had image stabilization.
Right.
You know, and that's, you know, I love to shoot at night.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, and you take a look, the pictures we just shot of Pepper, because one thing that I love to do with this, and I think a lot of people might with these small cameras, is take quick photos of people. And what's nice is with either of these cameras, they look small, they look unimposing. You hold the camera up, snap, and the autofocus is fast. And with the Q camera, even though it's a 28 millimeter, it's a 1.7. Beautiful 28 millimeter. And you can really blur the background and get a shot with low ISO and darkened conditions. We shot Pepper here in the studio sitting, you know, about right where she was when we did the intro. And the background can just go soft with the Leica, and you're down in the 300 ISO, or 360, I think it was, at 1.7. You jump up 2.5 stops, and despite the JPEG profile being beautiful and embedded and it having a little better color and tone look right out of the box, the Fuji, you know, you're up at, I can't remember, it was really high ISO. It was like
over 1,000.
It was
like 1,200.
I think it was 1,200 or maybe even 2,000, and you can't get as much background blur, even though it's a 35 millimeter, a little bit longer lens, not that much more than 28, but that f4 versus 1.7. You know, it still is fine portrait. You've got soft details, but you can't sort of blow the background into bokeh smithereens the way that you can with the Leica.
Right.
So it's just, you know,
It's a great camera.
It is.
If you're a Fuji shooter and you want something portable that you can, with one lens you can take with you on vacation.
Good light.
And good light, it's going to do a great job.
Use a tripod for low-lit landscapes and street scenes if that's what you're after. I just think you're going to have a harder time doing low-lit street photography with it.
I mean, at about $5,000, I mean, the Q, the 28, the Q3 is, $1,800 more.
Right.
So yeah, this looks like a bargain, but I don't know that I would spend $4,800 on a camera like this, at least for the way that I shoot.
And the funny thing is, if they come out with a GFX100RF 2 4 years from now, 3 years from now, and it's got image stabilization, maybe it has a faster lens, maybe it just has image stabilization. I don't know how, I don't know for sure how much value this one's going to hold in comparison.
Yes. Yeah.
And the funny thing with the Leicas is they just hold value.
Yeah.
The original Q is still
Right.
still very expensive on the used market, even though it's 24 megapixels.
Well, and then we've also got the specter of the new Sony RX1RIII,
which somebody's super excited
Yes,
about.
I'm very excited about it. The RX1R2 Model 2 really is my favorite camera of all time. I mean, it's small. I mean, it literally fits in my pocket.
Right.
When we were in Havana, that was my camera. I mean, it was just sort of wandering around.
It's tiny. Here's a photo of Stacy holding it.
Yeah, it is tiny. And it's got a beautiful Zeiss f2, 35 millimeter f2 lens, full frame.
Right. And they're putting that amazing 60 megapixel sensor in it.
And there's plenty of questions about that camera.
Again, it doesn't have image stabilization, but it's f2.
Yep. And so one of the things you compare that we'll talk about that with respect to the Fuji.
Yeah, it's coming, and we're reviewing
Yeah.
it. We're excited about it.
But it's like if I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, that's a lot more money than this. I don't know that I would buy this. I mean, I just
It's a tough one. It's just for the right. It's tough just because of its lack of ability, low lit handheld.
Yeah.
It gets tricky. And if you're wanting to use it on a tripod, if that's your type of photography,
and you want 100 megapixels,
then I think you want interchangeable lenses. You're not worried about the ultra lightweight because
Yeah.
you're carrying a tripod. I mean, it's for good light
Yes.
running around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works. And great JPEGs, special sauce. I mean, 100 megapixels means that you can sort of crop and still get a good size frame.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at the 90 setting in the 90 millimeter setting in this camera gives you, a 24 megapixel image.
Which is still plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, the days when me shooting 12 megapixels as panoramas, multi-row to get to a resolution somewhat like this. Now I shoot this a few frames with lots of overlap and I get the same resolution as that. This, you shoot a few frames overlap and it's like a multi-row panorama with my Z9.
Yeah. I mean, if someone said to me that they had the money to they had $5,000 to spend on a camera and they really wanted a great travel camera, one that would let them, shoot beach scenes and all sorts of stuff. They weren't worried about shooting at night. This would be one that I would recommend. I mean, it shoots great JPEGs.
Yeah.
And
Oh
so you
boy,
can,
does it? Yeah.
but it also feels like a 100 megapixel JPEG camera.
It's a little overkill.
I mean,
Honestly, the RX1R3 is, my guess is that's going to be the answer for a lot of those people.
yeah, I would agree.
And still work at night. You worked in Havana with that camera in absolute pitch darkness with street lamps here and there. And the shot you took of the security guy and the cat at night with that little dinky camera is amazing. And I think people get caught up in medium format and they get caught up in megapixels. And the fact of the matter is, especially we've done some videos on what you can do with super resolution. There's other software out there, Topaz, Gigapixel, and ON1's Resize AI. I love Adobe's super resolution and the fact that you can just click and all of a sudden, a 24 megapixel image becomes a 96 megapixel image. And if you were careful and had a really high quality capture, it doesn't lose much in the translation. It's infinitely printable. The technology is just making photography more and more fun, and you can do more with less.
Yeah.
I love my Q3. I know it's expensive,
Yeah.
but it's a tool that just does so much for me in so many conditions, and is so versatile and a little more compact and certainly more robust.
Yeah, I love the Q2 that I have. You know, and the one thing I will say is, again, if you're a Fuji shooter, you're going to pick this camera up and it's going to feel right in your hands.
You'll be at home.
You know, you just look at the menus, you can set it up. I mean, I think it's a lot easier to recommend this for a Fuji shooter.
100%.
You know, and it would be, you know, it would be a fun, you know, extra camera to have.
Yep.
Especially when you just wanted to travel around with something small.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that pretty much wraps that up. We got to give credit to Pepper May Henry for being our model and sitting in with us at the start of this.
And Ken Mueller.
And Ken Mueller for
thank you
so much. It's a great camera. It just, you know, it's got its limitations to think through.
As we've said a number of times,
There is
it's
no
something.
perfect. Oh,
It's something that's not for us.
right.
You know, and yes, there is no perfect camera.
There is no perfect camera. Right. We have an office hour coming up at some time.
Sometime. Yeah.
Sometime, and those are always fun big group photography get-togethers where we chat about all things photographic. So you can sign up for that, leave us a question to join the group for free over at hudsonhenry.com/office hours, or you can click right here. We have links to all of this stuff. I'll put a link to this guy if it seems like the camera for you. There's always links to the cues and the cameras that we use, love, trust, and recommend, and all the associated accessories and gear over at my website. And those links help us out a ton, so we appreciate your using them. You can just run to hudsonhenry.com and find all the stuff, including our new course on organizing.
Lightroom Classic.
Where are my damn photos? Which we've been getting just awesome feedback about, and we're really proud of. So check it out. Hit us up with questions. I hope you're all staying safe, staying creative. Rick, it's been an awesome week. I know you're excited to get home.
I am.
And I'm excited to go kiteboarding with the family and kids. So, all right. Hope you're all having fun, staying creative, and we'll see you next week.